Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, Election Day is finally here with Republicans poised to retake the House and possibly the Senate. A few close Senate races are on the line and voters are energized, heading to the polls in big numbers.
I think we're going to have record turnout because you have two excited bases who are coming out to vote for different reasons.
We'll take a look at some of the races that could decide the control of the Senate, as inflation and the economy are the critical issues for the majority of voters. How the government of China has declared war on faith, on Christians and other religious believers.
Christians are arrested, pastors are put in jail, whole congregations are forced to go underground.
And in a sign of the times, China is also using digital surveillance in an attempt to control its population. Cold and flu season is coming up, so how can you stay healthy? We'll hear from one expert who says you need to get your gut strong.
70 to 80% of your immune system is actually physically located in your gut.
And do dreams have a purpose? One author talks about what the Bible has to say, and she says they're God's way of making sure He can always connect with us.
Song of Solomon 5:2, it actually says that when we are asleep, our heart is awake to commune with our beloved.
Those stories and more today on CBN NewsWatch.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
And we begin this half hour with today's crucial midterm elections. Voters across the country going to the polls. The high-stakes results will determine control of both the House and the Senate in Washington, as well as in governor's races in several states. As Charlene Aaron tells us in our top story, a key factor will be voter turnout.
Americans are headed to the polls today in one of the most consequential midterm elections in recent history, with both the House and Senate potentially flipping from Democrat to Republican control. In Virginia, voters starting early this morning, lining up to cast their ballots. Candidates made their final push ahead of today's pivotal election. Georgia Senator Raphael Warnock in a neck-and-neck race against Republican Herschel Walker.
This is the difference between right and wrong. You cannot trust Herschel Walker to tell the truth.
And I'm running because I'm sick and tired of people not loving this country.
Across the country, many voted early, with more than 40 million votes already cast.
I think we're going to have record turnout because you have two excited bases who are coming out to vote for different reasons.
Top of mind for voters, the economy, inflation, and crime. On CBN's Faith Nation, Nathan Gonzalez, editor and publisher of Inside Elections, said it's all about the economy.
Whether it's inflation, gas prices, cost of living, it's generally wrapped up into the economy. There are issues of crime, immigration, the border, abortion access, but those are secondary or tertiary to the economy.
Senate races in Pennsylvania, Nevada, Georgia, Ohio, and Arizona could determine control of the chamber. All are in a dead heat coming into Election Day. Candidates for governor are also on the ballot in 36 states. In this vital election, officials are also concerned about election security and are taking steps to protect poll workers and election places. This election worker in Colorado wears a bulletproof vest to work for protection.
And I have had some instances in the past where people have followed me back to my neighborhood. That prompted me to start talking with the sheriff about personal safety. He recommended that I wear a ballistic vest.
There's also the issue of foreign interference. Russian businessman Yevgeny Prigozhin, an ally of Vladimir Putin, said Monday that he has interfered in past U.S. elections and will continue to interfere, quote, carefully, accurately, and surgically. With the high number of mail-in ballots, some are predicting the counts could go long into the night and even for days.
I think we're going to have to practice patience. Not only could the fight for the Senate go down to a runoff on December 6th in Georgia, but we might not know whether that Georgia race is going to decide the Senate because it could take a few days to count all the ballots in other key close races such as Pennsylvania or Arizona or Nevada.
Meanwhile, former President Trump says he will make a big announcement on November 15th, in which he's expected to launch his 2024 presidential campaign. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
As we heard in Charlene's report, inflation and the economy are the top issues for most voters. A recent report from the Gallup poll found Americans are extremely unhappy with the state of the economy. The report is called GOP Has Political Winds at Their Back in 2022. And it says, current ratings of the U.S. economy and national satisfaction are the lowest Gallup has measured at the time of a midterm election over the life of these polling trends, beginning in 1994 and 1982, respectively. Congressional and presidential job approval are near their historic low marks. That's a bad sign for the party in power, in this case, the Democrats. And one Democratic strategist told CNN she expects her party to have a bad election night because they didn't focus on those economic concerns of voters.
I'm a loyal Democrat, but I am not happy. I just think that we did not listen to voters in this election, and I think we're going to have a bad night. And, this conversation is not going to have much impact on Tuesday, but I hope it has an impact going forward, because when voters tell you over and over and over again that they care mostly about the economy, listen to them. Stop talking about democracy being at stake. Democracy is at stake because people are fighting so much about what elections mean. I mean, voters have told us what they wanted to hear, and I don't think Democrats have really delivered this cycle.
Analysts say another problem for Democrats, President Biden's low job approval. The president is down to 39% in the latest poll from Reuters Ipsos. Gallup has pointed out when a president is below 50%, his party loses an average of 37 seats in the House. Most analysts predict the Republicans will retake the House. The only question is, how many seats will they win? The Senate is a different story. Real Clear Politics predicts Republicans will recapture the Senate with 53 seats. The polling site 538 says the fate of the Senate looks to be on a knife's edge. And a University of Virginia political scientist, Larry Sabato's crystal ball expects the GOP to end up with 51 seats. But as always, the voters, they've got the final say. And of course, you can get election results from CBN News tonight by watching our live team coverage, either on the CBN News Channel or the CBN News app. That is tonight from 8 until midnight Eastern Time. And a reminder for our viewers, if you miss an episode of CBN NewsWatch, you can still catch it on YouTube. You can find it by typing in CBN NewsWatch in the YouTube search box. And there you can find older episodes of the show as well. Coming up, a sign of the times. Big Brother is watching you in China as the government is using digital surveillance technology to keep a close eye on its population. And at the same time, the regime is also waging a war on faith. We're going to bring you that story when we come back. You're watching CBN NewsWatch.
Too often, we carry baggage from our past. You know what it's like. It affects everything and everyone in our lives. It's always there, weighing us down and keeping us from achieving true happiness. But do you know God never meant for us to be trapped in the past? You can be free of your baggage. Learn how God's forgiveness leads to changed lives and new beginnings. Call the 700 Club.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Wednesday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel. Tikkun Olam.
This is our nature as a country.
To make the world a better place.
Literally, we felt the earth shaking.
The Christian Broadcasting Network presents To Life, how Israeli volunteers are changing the world.
This film needs to be seen by everyone.
I was in tears.
Now you can own the inspiring documentary To Life on DVD.
There is blood on our hands if we know and we walk away.
I'm so grateful that this film was made.
To Life can be yours for a gift of $10 or more. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com.
We know that every minute counts to save life.
It'll bless Israel, but it'll also bless all the friends of Israel.
Discover the untold story of how Israeli volunteers are making the world a better place. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com to get your copy today.
The government of China knows religious belief is the biggest threat to its grip on power, so Beijing has stepped up its campaign of repression with its war on faith. And in a sign of the times, that includes a major system of government surveillance of its population. Dale Hurd brings us that story now.
Taken from Chinese police files, show some of the millions of Uyghurs being held in at least 1,200 Chinese concentration camps. Their crimes? They may have had relatives in other countries, or they may have made the mistake of applying for a passport. They may have had more than 3 children. They might be considered too religious, or they've been declared untrustworthy. This has been happening for years in the western Chinese province of Xinjiang, and the world has done almost nothing to stop it. Tersine, a Uyghur, was imprisoned for visiting her family in nearby Kazakhstan.
Our cell was 4 square meters, and there were more than 20 people. And there was only one bucket to be used as a toilet. At night, they would take out some people, especially some young girls, for interrogation. And we could hear their screaming. Some of the girls would bleed very badly. One woman had bite marks all over her body, and sometimes they would die because of the bleeding.
Tersine was gang raped by prison guards and tortured with electric shocks. Other inmates face forced sterilization, slave labor, and brainwashing. Prisoners are regularly killed so their organs can be harvested.
Everyone, literally every single prisoner, was subject to an organ examination. And after the examination, some people were put on a bus and taken somewhere else.
Those outside the camps live in an Orwellian world of constant surveillance. Authorities have placed QR codes on the outsides of homes that give them information about anyone living inside. And an app on their phone records everything they do. This photo shows the English translation of an app Chinese police use when they question someone. After the person's ID is entered, everything about them pops up on screen, including how much electricity they use. And then the app asks the officer if the person's reaction was normal or abnormal, and if the person requires further investigation. China is using every tool at its disposal in the war on faith. All faiths. Anything that could compete with allegiance to the communist state. China is also imprisoning huge numbers of Falun Gong members, a Buddhist sect, and house church Christians. Former President Trump's ambassador-at-large for international religious freedom, Sam Brownback.
Christians are arrested, pastors are put in jail, whole congregations are forced to go underground. The Uyghurs, even if you're not in the concentration camp, you got a camera for every other person that's there. You got a police station or kind of way station every 50 yards in the major cities. People are tracked constantly. They've taken genetic sampling of everybody. They've got facial recognition systems.
With a government mandate to break their lineage, break their roots, Beijing is using forced sterilization and forced marriages to bring an end to the Uyghurs as a people and a culture. The prime minister in exile of East Turkestan, what China now calls Xinjiang, is Salih Hudayar.
So the Chinese government essentially, aside from sterilizing our population, it wants to, breed us out, essentially. So they are forcing young Uyghur women to marry Han Chinese men. And if you refuse, then they're going to send you to a concentration camp and send everyone in your family into a concentration camp.
The man behind this repression is Chinese Politburo member Chen Quanguo, who was so successful in crushing resistance in Tibet that he was sent to Xinjiang to put in place a system to destroy Uyghur culture.
He's the architect. He designed and implemented the takedown of the Tibetan Buddhist system and then got moved to do something similar to the Muslim population. They've taken this very seriously. They fear religion.
Under a program the Chinese government calls Pair Up and Become Family, more than 1 million Chinese party members have been assigned to move into the homes of Uyghurs and other ethnic minorities, spending weeks as uninvited guests monitoring their behavior, sometimes sharing their beds, and trying to convert them to communism. Meanwhile, the victims of Chinese repression feel abandoned by the United States and the world. A recent UN report on China's treatment of the Uyghurs refrained from using the term genocide, even though what China is doing fits the UN's own definition of genocide. Prime Minister Hu De'er suspects the UN caved to pressure from China. And after the White House claimed Joe Biden raised the issue of genocide with Chinese leader Xi Jinping recently, the Chinese government insisted that no, he did not. And sanctions by the U.S. and other Western nations have not worked.
You know, you could look at it and say, look, I'm a Christian. It really doesn't apply to me. It does apply to you. Because as soon as they go after one faith group, they're going to go after the next. The target is people of faith. The war is China's war on faith, and it's all faiths.
The American government knows exactly what China is doing to the Uyghurs. The world knows exactly what's happening, and it has done nothing.
Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Still ahead, with the concerns of a triple-demic this coming winter with 3 diseases hitting at once, the flu, the RSV virus, and COVID. An expert has some tips on how you can avoid getting sick by keeping your gut healthy. We'll hear from her right after this.
Want to be a part of a community that inspires your spiritual growth while winning prizes? The all-new CBN app. Connect with the community for prayer and encouragement. Track and set spiritual goals. Enjoy conversation starters with friends and family. And collect points to win prizes. The all-new CBN app. A great place to belong. Download the app at cbn.com/mobile.
Nutrition. Exercise. Essential oils. Weight loss, and more. It's Healthy Living with Lori Johnson.
Talk about what's in this.
Join CBN health reporter Lori Johnson to get the latest information from today's top health experts.
This is fantastic.
Find out what you need to know to live a healthier life. Watch Healthy Living Tuesday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Too often, we carry baggage from our past. You know what it's like. It affects everything and everyone in our lives. It's always there, weighing us down and keeping us from achieving true happiness. But do you know God never meant for us to be trapped in the past? You can be free of your baggage. Learn how God's forgiveness leads to changed lives and new beginnings. Call the 700 Club.
We reported yesterday doctors being concerned about high numbers of people getting 3 different viruses this fall and winter: the flu, the respiratory virus, RSV, and COVID. On this week's episode of Healthy Living, medical reporter Lori Johnson speaks with a doctor who says a healthy gut protects us from viral infections. And a healthy gut, she says, means we have lots of different kinds of good bacteria in our intestines.
How do you make sure that you're getting all of these different kinds of bacteria, the ones that you named specifically that have different purposes? Because you don't
Lori,
get them in certain probiotics or just by eating yogurt, for example.
Lori, it's such a great question, and you're absolutely right.
these bacteria are all present in our gut. So the important thing is how we feed them. So it's not going out and buying a store-bought bacteria and ingesting it. A lot of those bacteria don't survive to really create meaningful repopulation in our GI tract. But we have our own native populations, and it's really about feeding them. And we know that these good bacteria thrive on a high fiber diet. Now, you don't have to be a vegan or even a vegetarian, but you do need to eat lots of high fiber foods. It's important to incorporate those into your diet because these bacteria take the fiber from plant foods, they metabolize it and ferment it and create something called short chain fatty acids. And these short chain fatty acids are really important, not just for the health of that gut lining in terms of keeping it intact, but also for modulating the immune system, for making sure when you're exposed to a pathogen that your immune system mounts just the right response, not too active, where you're ending up with cytokine storm and destroying tissue, and not so underactive that you're not able to clear the virus. So that Goldilocks immune system, as I like to call it, is highly dependent on these short chain fatty acids that are being produced by gut bacteria when you eat a high fiber diet. And Lori, there was a study from 2018 by the American Gut Project that found that 30 different plant foods per week was a sort of magic number for a healthy microbiome. And so you get credit for fruits, vegetables, nuts, grains, seeds, spices, herbs, all of it. I can get 10 different plant foods into a bowl of oatmeal.
The doctor says up to 80% of our immune system is in our gut, and the good news is we can improve it by choosing some healthy habits. You can find out more about how to have a healthy gut this evening on Healthy Living with Lori Johnson. It's on the CBN News Channel beginning at 8:30 Eastern. Of course, you can also download the CBN News app and watch it there. Coming up, what's the significance of dreams? We're going to hear from one author who's talking about what the Bible says and how she believes God uses dreams to speak to us. When we come back, stay with us.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Wednesday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Remember for a moment what it was like to be a child. You believed every story you were told. You saw a world full of endless possibilities. What stories will the world's orphaned and at-risk children believe? We believe the Bible tells the only story truly worth believing. We believe that every child should have the opportunity to dream, the chance to take challenges and turn them into possibilities, the chance to stand on the promises of God, to recognize their place in the greatest story ever told. They have their whole lives ahead of them. Theirs is a world of endless possibilities. They are looking for a story to believe. We will tell them that story. Will you join us?
Welcome back to CBN NewsWatch. On average, we spend about 33% of our lives sleeping, and sometimes we dream. But why? What's their purpose? And what about dreams that seem crazy or totally meaningless? In her book, Hearing God Through Your Dreams, Understanding the Language God Speaks at Night, Charity Kayembe says dreams are God's contingency plan, ensuring He will always have a way to connect with us. She joined CBN's The Prayer Link program this week to tell us more.
This is a really hot topic because a lot of people, we dream a lot. You have traveled all over the world teaching people how to make sense of their dreams. And you say that our dreams are bridges that connect us with the supernatural realm. How so?
Well, in Song of Solomon 5:2, it actually says that when we are asleep, our heart is awake to commune with our beloved. So when we're resting in this natural realm, our heart and our spirit is very much awake and alive to communicate with heaven, to communicate with our beloved Jesus.
I really believe that. And, you know, sometimes people have dreams that they can't remember. I know my husband will say, I know I had a dream last night, but I can't remember it now. Why does that happen?
Well, it is common. One of the reasons is we don't get quite enough sleep. So getting enough sleep is helpful. And also if we wake up to a really obnoxious alarm clock, that shatters dream recall. So we want dream-friendly alarm clocks. We want to get enough sleep. So there's different ways that things we can do to help us recall the dreams that we're having.
And Charity, what about recurring dreams? Can you tell us about that? I know that I've had dreams. It's been similar to other dreams I've had before.
Yeah,
what about recurring dreams? You too, yeah.
Yes, recurring dreams are God trying to get our attention. He's told us something and we haven't really understood it or been able to act on it. So he'll tell us again and again. So a key to kind of making sense of that is consider what is going on in your waking life when you keep having that recurring dream. So, oh, during the day, every time this happens, then I have this dream. Every time I'm with this person, then I have a dream like this. So that's kind of a clue to see what the recurring theme is actually about.
Well, in your book, you say that bad dreams can be turned into blessings. That's good news. Talk about that.
Yes, we see in the Bible, in Genesis 15, you know, God gives Abram the gift of a supernatural covenant. And that's amazing that God would do that when he's asleep in a dream, number one. That's significant. But number two, it actually says that terror came onto Abram. So it was a scary dream. It was a nightmare. So we see, okay, biblically speaking, bad dreams can be turned into blessings. There can be a silver lining. And one easy thing to kind of see that silver lining, a lot of times we'll dream that we're being chased, but that might be our perspective. In waking life, we feel like we're under attack or we feel like everything is bad. But consider the fact that we're usually never caught, right? Maybe somebody's like shooting at us and it seems bad and scary, but oh, look, I'm not actually hurt. I am unscathed. So that's kind of our heart revealing its fear or its anxiety about whatever is going on in our waking life. But God's silver lining of that scary dream is, look, you're still okay. You remain unharmed. You're safe. I've got you. So you don't have to be so afraid.
The book, Hearing God Through Your Dreams, Understanding the Language God Speaks at Night, is available wherever books are sold. You can also get her Dream Keys app for free on Google Play or at the Apple Store. I want to leave you now with a Tuesday Tweetable. Remember this, God is not a Republican, God is not a Democrat. He is king and he's most concerned with building his kingdom. And he's calling on us to make earth as it is in heaven. Think on that for a moment and make this a terrific Tuesday. And be sure to have yourself a wonderful rest of the week. Do it with purpose and on purpose. That is a wrap for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. I want to remind you, you can always find more of our programs on the CBN News Channel. You can find them there at any time as well as online at cbnnews.com. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today or any day. You can email us. The address is right there at the bottom of your screen, newswatch@cbn.com. And of course, you can always reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We certainly would love to hear from you. We look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow, and stay with us for your election coverage.